Let's call the meeting to order. Please rise, pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Taylor, would you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Here.
Commissioner White. Here. Commissioner Orthwine. Here. Commissioner Lyons.
Here.
Mayor Morgan.
Here.
Also present, Town Manager Dunham, Assistant Town Attorney Nazaro, Police Chief Allen, and myself.
Very good, thank you. We've been presented with the minutes from our last meeting on June 12th. Are there any additions or comments or changes? If not, is there a motion for approval? Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Taylor.
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwine. Yes. Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. We have a few changes to the agenda. I'll just say them. We're going to be withdrawing 10D, and that is the piggyback contract for this meeting anyway. And we're going to be moving the Baxter Woodland presentation, which was 10C, to 7A. So it'll immediately follow the public comment. Note. Our next meeting is August 14th at 9 a.m. We do have a few changes to the September meetings, however. Ms. Taylor?
Yes. Our September the 11th meeting, we will need a motion to change that from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., followed by the 5:01 tentative budget hearing. That would be one motion, and we need a second motion to set a public hearing for the final budget adoption on September the 22nd at 5:01.
I will do that when we come to it at public comment. Anyone wish to speak? If there's anyone. All right, let's move on then to the Baxter Woodman presentation that's been moved on.
Yes, Mayor, Baxter Woodman, as you can see, came loaded for bear today. And so I've instructed Mr. Rick Chipman to perhaps only speak himself and not everybody take their turns. But anyway, so it's Mr. Rick Chipman, and I have jockey Sarah Fox, and new to them is Lauren Arrington.
Okay, well, welcome all. Who wants to speak?
I'll start off.
Great.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for sitting in the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having us this morning. Basically, what we're here today is to
I'm sorry, just state your name and come to the record.
Rick Chipman, Baxter and Woodman.
Thank you.
We're here to discuss the A1A water main project that's currently going on in your community. And we're here today to for a change to the contract to allow the contractor to install the water main along the A1A corridor underneath the southbound main of A1A. In lieu of a directional drill process, a combination of directional drill and open cut that was planned to be in the shoulder. The purpose for this change is that since the design was completed, there has been quite a few additional utilities put in the corridor along the shoulder of the western shoulder of the road. These utilities were discovered by the contractor during his initial investigation before he can start the work. These type of things are required. Now, when we do the design, we use all the best information available at the time. We get everything on the drawings. We identify conflicts. We identify all the existing utilities. And then the contractor is required to come to the project and verify all that information and find out for themselves. They call locates. They're required to dig down and actually physically locate utilities so that they can do the project. Now, the project was originally designed with a combination of directional drills for the purpose of avoiding any contact with the Australian pines. And the problem that has happened since these additional utilities that have been put in is severely restricted the amount of space available to actually do the installation. It's not the drill itself, but when the drill comes up out of the ground, there has to be room for a drill pit, and there also has to be room for pits to install water services to all the utilities, to all the residences. So what has happened is these additional utilities has reduced that space. So the contractor approached us along with their subcontractor for the directional drill and put together quite a few plans showing where all these utilities are. So we immediately started to investigate what solutions we may have to correct the problem. So we contacted FDOT. We got approval from them to put it underneath the southbound lane. We contacted the health department, got approval for them to make this change. We feel the change, while it costs a little more, it stays within the total contract that is out there right now. So originally, we had a contingency in the contract to account for things like this, various conflicts and what have you. We had a contingency in there. So this is the perfect use for that contingency. We have the solution to put it under the road is beneficial to the town because the pipeline will now not be so deep. It will not be a directional bore anymore. It'll be an open cut. So the pipeline will be much shallower. Valves will be much more accessible. Maintenance will be much improved underneath the roadway. And it is out of that busy corridor whatsoever. The chances of hitting one of these utilities is much reduced now by putting it out there. And all the services to the residents will be bored underneath the trees. And we feel it's just a win-win situation for everybody involved here because had we originally designed it this way, it would have cost much more. And the reason for that is the contractor has an incentive now to cross his T's, dot his I's, and really sharpen his pencil in terms of price. So what we've been able to do is eliminate a lot of the things that we needed for a directional drill and add, of course, additional cost for the open cut. Now, when we open cut down the southbound lane, initially the trench would just be repaired. When the whole process is done, the entire southbound lane will be milled and overlaid. So that whole section of road will be brand new.
Pardon me for interrupting, but
Sure.
that's a requirement of the DOT
Correct.
to do the entire lane, not leave just the asphalt pathway down the
Is
trench.
this the entire section of the project, FA1A, or just a smaller
No,
section?
it's from Gulf View up here to Sea Road.
Gulf View to Sea Road, correct.
Okay.
So in terms of impact to the community while this is going on, we find it's not going to impact really travel along the roadway at all. You'll have a moving work zone. We're going to have a little bit of more maintenance of traffic devices out on the roadway. We would have had some of that anyway. Now we're moving the work into the roadway. There'll be a work zone that will move down the highway. So the contractor will have flagmen directing traffic around the specific work zone. So there will always be two-way traffic. When cars approach the work zone, flagmen will direct the cars around the specific zone, and then at the end of the day, that work zone would be, backfilled, and the whole road would be opened up completely. So in the evenings, every night, the road will be open. So we find it's gonna be no impact to the community. And the services will go in much smoother this way now. We can avoid all the Australian pines. We can avoid all the utilities completely. And at the end of the day, after subtracting the things we didn't need, adding the new things we need, such as mill and overlay of the southbound lane, we're only coming up to about a $46,000 change to the project. Now, we had $115,000 contingency in the project, so we still have a $68,000 left in that contingency for any other problems that we find during the construction process. So, the best thing I can say here is that a problem developed that was not foreseen. We have a solution for that problem. The contractor is ready to proceed with the solution. It's been discussed with him. It doesn't affect the contract overall cost or the overall time. It ends up in a better solution for the community and for the utility department. So,
Is this a hard number, by the way? You negotiated this with them?
it's already been negotiated. It's a hard number.
That's not gonna delay the project.
Not gonna delay the project. The contractor's ready to go as soon as we get approved.
And that 46 includes the road pavement.
And includes the road
The whole
pavement.
thing.
Mhm.
I mean, I prefer it, to be honest with you. Our main concern was those Australian pines. The further away from them, the better, in my opinion.
And Mr. Mayor, I mean, the staff would encourage it too. I just believe that with all the utilities that are out there and working around the Australian pines, we would be shut down more than we would be trenching the southbound lane because of, nicking another utility down there and having to stop the work to get that fixed.
Can we renegotiate the arborist contract then? Wasn't he?
Well, he was only, paid as needed. So.
Okay.
And we've consulted with him
That's
on
right,
this.
that was as needed.
Yeah.
Right, good. Questions, Tom?
So what's the schedule then? Just, we go forward today, what's still the schedule for that main going onto the road? Like, I mean, presumably it should be the same little
It is,
passage
it's
you're
the same
pointing.
schedule.
Yeah,
When will that wrap up again?
the same overall schedule is supposed to be done by November,
Right.
if not late October. Contractor is guaranteed he can maintain that schedule. And he would probably start out in the roadway within the next couple weeks.
So it's gonna be mostly down during the shoulder season, which is usually.
Definitely.
Yes. So I have a question for Mr. Chipman.
Mhm.
So, and I'm gonna give an update, just a brief update on the project, where it is right now. And maybe I can just go ahead and do that. I think we probably got about 2 more weeks on County Road. Then we'll do, Little Club Road.
Right.
Would they start simultaneous, to the work being done here, or are they gonna wait till those are completed?
That was the initial plan, and to start simultaneous. They're still looking at that, whether or not they need to. If they don't need to do it simultaneously and maintain their schedule, they would just continue on the path that they're doing now, because they need to come around the corner, down A1A and up Little Club.
Right.
And, we're looking at the easements and stuff over there. And, so this is the perfect opportunity for them. If we have any issues along the way, then they can jump back here too. So they have an option of either or right at the moment.
All right.
When will county be paved? Is that the completion of the project, when the water is turned on and it's certified by the?
I believe the paving is at the end of the project.
So it's gonna be like this through, the early fall.
Yeah, because they generally they bring in, pavers once. so they'll probably want to pave the whole project. I really would have to look at their schedule again to answer that question, but I believe they wanna do all the paving at once.
So, no, my understanding is that once they get this tested and which I think they're doing some pressure testing today, and when this is done, they're gonna come in here with the asphalt,
Okay, so then I could be wrong there. I know they were gonna bring everything back up and make everything real nice. I didn't know if they were gonna put the final asphalt.
I think they're gonna put the asphalt on. I'll verify.
But we can verify.
Once it's certified by the state,
Yeah,
Right.
then they can pave it, right?
yeah, and they're doing that over the next couple.
They can't do that until they connect to the A1A section, I thought.
Right, well, it's really quite a process, because they have to go through, today they're actually, flushing the portions of the water main that they have in now on City Road in county. And then, of course, they have to pressure test, and they have to do bacteriological testing, and then we have to submit to the health department, we have to get approval to put a pipeline into service. That process can be done in segments, or it can be done all at once, and it depends on all your existing constraints of what you have going on out there. They have just submitted a plan for doing that, so it's kind of preliminary right now, so I don't know if it's all gonna come, if it's gonna come as, in one package or several isolated sections, but you're entirely correct. You have to go through that process. Sometimes you have to do it a couple times in segments.
I'll verify that for the commission, but, my understanding, at least a couple days ago, was that once they've got all the testing done and it's working and clean, that they'll go ahead and come back with the
paving.
Yeah, I hope so. That'll be an awful long time.
Right.
Any other questions, Mr. Shipman?
I do have a question. More and more you see bicycle traffic on A1A, and there's one, where they're powering it one way, and the construction, are there any accommodations for bicycle traffic?
Well, yes, their maintenance of traffic has to provide for not only, cars, walkers, bicyclists, and everything. So again, it's gonna be a moving work zone, so it's not like the entire road is gonna be tore up, just a 400-foot section. At those sections, they will make accommodations for bicycles.
Yeah, so it's not gonna be torn up from Gulf View to Sea Road. It's like you said, it's a moving, it's about maybe 200 or 300 feet at a time.
Correct.
And you gotta remember that bicycles are subject to traffic laws. So when they flag them and stop cars, the bicycles have to stop. So then when they allow them around, then they go around just like the cars.
Okay.
And that would actually be affected either way the project is done, because you have construction vehicles out there and stuff, so they would be literally, along the shoulder of the roadway anyways, originally, so this doesn't really change that too much.
All right, good. Why don't we, proceed with your update now on the.
Yeah, well, I mean, I pretty much said that, and he's kind of filled in some of the, answer or update in terms of where they are. They're cleaning, they gotta get the pressure testing done, and I think they're at that point. I'm not sure, don't they have all the pipe in up to A1A?
Well, it's just to the corner, right,
To
the
the
tennis
corner
court.
right now, okay, so, I see it probably another couple weeks, to complete County Road.
Okay, and then we'll get the information on when that's gonna be paid for those.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Anything else? If not, is there a motion regarding the change order for Foster Marine Contractors?
Motion to approve the change order for $46,000, Boston Marine.
$46,280.
Correct.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but, we did speak about this at our last commission meeting, when we were talking about the CIP. I don't know if you remember that, but we did speak about the contingency and that, so this isn't gonna raise the final price of the.
And Rebecca told us that there's money in there for contingency, so, it's a good thing you did that. There's been a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwine?
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Very good, thank you so much.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a good day.
Okay, let's move on to the public hearing. These are a series of applications. We're going to start with 530 Old School Road. First, I'm gonna ask whether there have been any ex parte communications, regarding this application.
I have none on this one.
None? Ms. Taylor, do you want to administer the oaths to whoever's gonna be speaking? I guess it's Mr. Jones.
Yes, Mr. Jones?
Just need to give, Rebecca time to get in.
Oh, okay.
Yep, just give me 1 second to get them active.
While we're doing, we can do ex parte, for all the applications, I believe, since we're all here. All right, ex parte for any of the applications, that includes 530 Old School Road, also the, 554 Palm Way, 3054 Gulfstream Road, 4225 North County Road, and 520 Mill Road. Any ex parte communications?
No.
I don't have ex parte, but I'm not voting on 3054, 554, and 520.
Due to professional involvement?
Yes, public service,
Pretty good.
yeah,
What?
professional involvement.
Do we have,
No, that's,
Would these two gentlemen please give their name?
Mr.
Louis
Jones,
Blah-
your microphone is muted.
Mr. Jones, could you, take something, I'm sorry, on my glasses, I can't see the other gentleman.
Louis Vlahos, landscape architect.
Very good.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Rita.
Would you each raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Very good. All right, Mr. Jones? You wanna
I'm so
proceed?
sorry, Mayor, just give me 1 second. Mr. Jones, you're still muted. I need you to unmute your mic.
Wonderful.
He doesn't seem to be getting the message.
Mr. Jones, sometimes if you go under audio, you will see 3 places. It'll say computer, phone. If you click off of one of them and click back on it, sometimes it just gets frozen up.
We did it last month.
Yeah.
Is he hearing it?
Can you hear us, Richard? Nod your head if you can hear us. Okay. We can't hear you. Uh-oh. Well,
Click the mic symbol under the orange arrow.
still not working. Let's proceed to the landscape portion of this application. Let's at least address that.
Okay. My name's Louis Vlahos. I'm the landscape architect. We made all attempts to preserve as much of the existing as possible going through that. But due to the fact that the site was raised by 2 feet by raising the seawall in the rear, majority of trees on site were too large to relocate off-site. They had to be located on site after being root pruned and whatever, so we weren't possible in doing that. We consulted with an arborist and Delray Garden Center. What we were able to save on site was there's 5 Japanese blueberries that were around 8 feet, and those we are going to relocate and store at Del Rey Garden Center to be planted at a later date of completion. The other thing that we did is we moved the retaining wall on the side property lines 30 inches within the property. And in doing that, we are able to preserve an existing, very healthy 10 to 12 foot existing ficus hedge on both sides. And on the east side, 8 existing areca palms that would give us additional screening. That said, basically in the front, we have 2 East Palaca hollies in the cul-de-sac median, and a focal point foxtail palm. And on either side, east and northeast and northwest, we have 2 large Silvestris date palms. In addition to that, we have Adonidia palms, some Alexander palms or whatever at the entry, and also a courtyard wall that will create a little court area within the entry and the front porch. In addition to the size for additional screening next to the building, we added 18-foot fishtail palms, which basically being raised 2 feet from the adjacent property will be at 20 feet, basically screening any views to the second story windows of the proposed residence. In the back, again, we added a mango tree, some palms up against the building, and 2 large Silvestris palms on either side, kind of framing the views from the loggia to the pool. And also, per owner's request, we are also doing a podocarpus hedge right on the seawall that will be maintained at 4 feet of height, adding more privacy for the owner and screening for the adjacent residences. Based on requirements, we meet and exceed. That said, any questions?
I have one question.
Yes.
On the south east corner, currently there's a large tree, or it's very bushy. I don't know what it is, looking at it from an aerial view. And it seems to give a nice separation to the houses to the east and a little southeast. So what is that tree that's sitting there now that looks so large?
Okay, there's a whole row of areca palms basically on the east property line.
Okay.
And all those, and they're like about 24 plus feet. And all those will be preserved.
Okay.
Because we're moving the retaining wall so we don't compact them or whatever, because otherwise, you know, it's hard to relocate on site when you're bringing in additional soil. So I think by moving the wall 30 inches towards the interior of the property, that whole screen there will be maintained. If you're talking about the other tree where we're replacing it with a large mango tree at this point, that is a large black olive. Okay, but that's not in the southeast corner. That's more like in the south and the east, but kind of exactly where we're showing a large tree on our proposed landscape plan right now, which is a mango tree.
Okay, so basically you're going to replace something that eventually be somewhat comparable.
Correct. Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions on landscaping?
Just have a question. What kind of shape are the ficus hedges then? Because we're retaining a lot of ficus.
What kind of what? I didn't hear that. Can you repeat it, please?
What kind of shape are the ficus hedges then?
What shape are they in? Are they healthy?
Oh, they're in very good shape. They're in very good shape. There's some areas, you know, where there's some Chalkus hedge that has kind of popped through, you know, whatever. but there's no holes in it. It's a solid green wall, and hence why we're trying to, per owner's request again, we're trying to maintain it because it's something that we wouldn't be able to replace by anything new, by any standards.
Very good. Other questions? Is Richard online now? Richard, are you?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Very good. Okay.
Okay, great. Good morning, Richard Jones with Richard Jones Architecture. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be presenting the architectural portion of 530 Old School Road. And I just want to be sure, Rebecca, do I have control of the PowerPoint?
We'll find out.
I see the aerial up on the screen, but here we go. All right. Okay, great. Thank you very much. 530 Old School Road. As you see there, a artistic representation of the front facade, keeping in mind that the landscape shown there is just for artistic purposes, and Mr. Vlahos has the two-dimensional elevations that we can look at a little bit later on in the presentation here. And we take a look at our site location along Old School Road. It is one lot in from the intersection of Polo Drive and Old School Road. Historically, a very low-lying area, one of the lowest areas in the Gulfstream core. And if you take a look at the existing survey, one thing you will notice is the two catch basins that are out in front flanking the existing driveway. Typically, a catch basin location indicates a low point in a drainage area. And the existing one-story house that's there on site, it has a 50-foot rear setback, and the current seawall is roughly at about a 3 NAVD, which is extremely low, and there's been some flooding issues with the backyard of this property historically. If we take a look at the pictures of the surrounding context, on the left-hand side, you can see the property, the front entry, the street view facing, this would be not north, it would be west. And as you can see, the water that has formed in the street there, that's left over from possibly rain the night before. And then the street view looking to the east. The adjacent property to the east, as well as to the west, and the property directly across the street. You'll notice they all share a very similar site plan feature, which is the circular drive entry, very popular in Gulfstream. This is the color site plan. Along the sides are where the ficus hedges are that Mr. Vlahos had mentioned. And you'll see we are incorporating a new circular drive consistent with other properties. And the house sitting about the front third of the property, and then a very large backyard area leading down to the water with the new dock and the seawall, which is being raised 24 inches.
Can I ask, how is it 24 inches above the neighbor's seawall too, 2 feet? How does that all go in the back, the seawall?
The seawall would be, depending on the height of the adjacent seawalls, there would be a slight differential in the height of the new seawall versus the neighbor's seawall. But as you know from the past year and a half or so, the FEMA requirements and the Florida Building Code updates have been requiring finished floors to be increased higher and higher. And houses that we're designing today, at a minimum, have to be built 18 inches above the finished floor elevation of what they were 18 months ago. And so we have that delicate balance of how much we raise the site to have consistency with the adjacent properties and balance that with the amount of steps coming out of the house, which has to be raised to an elevation of 7.0 NAVD. So there will be a differential at that seawall line, but that's not uncommon along the barrier island where you see a variation in seawall heights between properties. This is our data. I'm sorry, excuse me.
Is there any way you could kind of coordinate with the neighbors to see if everyone wants to raise their seawall at the same time instead of piecemealing, you know, having one up here and one down here? It's not a responsibility, but is it possible to try?
Yes, absolutely. We could certainly reach out to the neighbors on either side. This may be, you know, something that is maybe a town initiative, like the undergrounding of the cable lines. As FEMA continues to raise finished floor elevations, we understand they're considering raising again in the near future. And so it might be something, a good topic for discussion, and we can certainly reach out to the immediate adjacent neighbors to see if they would consider raising as well, or at least a portion of theirs as it abuts the property line. Okay, our data table, we're proposing a 5,266 square foot two-story home with a colonial West Indies style. This is in the Gulf Stream Core District. If you take a look at our setbacks, you'll see that we're actually increasing setbacks over the minimums. Our front setback required is 30, and we're at 34.3. The rear setback of the existing home is at 50, and what's required is 50, but we're at 66.8. And the side setbacks are at 15. And you'll see as we look at our second floor, we have additional setbacks to 25.6 and 28.6. We'll take a look at that in the floor plan. Our first floor, symmetrical front entry with our entry courtyard wall and steps. This is part of, by design, being able to step up from the driveway in a manner that is consistent with approach to the front door, with our 3 steps here at the courtyard, and then 2 more steps at the porch, and then another step at the front door. So it's a gradual stepping up from the driveway. If you can see in our garage, we actually have 5 steps going from the garage into the house. So it just shows you how much the FEMA minimum standards influence the design when the property in the front is kept lower and consistent with the road and the amount of steps that are required. So what we do is a gradual step up approach through the courtyard to the front entry. We do have a front porch that's 8 by 8, and it's a great room plan with our master suite down. And again, we have the enhanced front and rear setbacks. We look at our second floor. It's the minimal second floor with an open air balcony. The small little covered area here is part of the special exemption request to just have a little bit of cover at the second floor, right in this area here. But as you can see, our setbacks on the second floor are very enhanced and consistent with LDR section 70-73 subsection C, which requires additional side setbacks. You'll see we're at 25.6 to the east and 28.2 to the west. And on the rear, even though it's not required, we're proposing additional setback to 72 feet 6. So the second floor of this house is actually 22-foot setback from the existing house. And that's to take respect to the neighbor to the east. that has an angled lot and to preserve their view. And on the front, we have additional setback. Again, that's not required, but we're setting back to 4610 plus the 8x8 front porch. So we're kind of doubling up on the LDR requirements to really minimize the impact of the second floor. And this is our elevations with a colonial West Indies style, complementary to other houses on the street. Details include shakers, shutters, lap siding, exposed outriggers, the front porch, and the rear balcony. And then we also have wood. I know it says woof, but I think the property owner is a dog lover here. And we have wood arbors on either side of our entry gates here.
Hey, Richard, would you go back to the front elevation again?
Yes.
The issue I have, the home sits higher due to requirements, obviously, that you've described. But there's such a vertical presentation to this design with a single door. The second story windows, they're very narrow and vertical in their appearance. And I just wonder what the impact of that sort of design is on a house that's already sitting higher than the other homes to the street.
Well, again, with this particular style of architecture, windows that have a vertical proportion, these I believe are 3 feet tall, 3 feet wide by 6 foot tall, rectangular, are consistent with the LDRs for the architectural style. But to answer your question, this center portion that you see here is the only double stacked portion that's at the 46-foot setback. The wings that are on either side step back even much further than that, as you will see in the 3-dimensional rendering. And then this is our little courtyard wall here that we have out in front with a railing on top. And this is the number of steps coming up, 3 steps to the courtyard, and then a few more up to the front door. When we take a look at the landscape 2-dimensional elevations, you'll see, the amount of coverage also that is on the front of the house. But we do feel that this massing is consistent with the architectural style and also consistent with and exceed the minimum requirements of the LDRs for 2-story. This house is roughly, if a 2-story house was built about 2 years ago, and we were involved with other designs over on Polo a few years back, this house is only 18 inches higher than those houses, the finished floor of those houses. So it's not a major difference in height from FEMA, but I think with this lot, it occurs at one of the lowest points in the core. And so it actually sits higher in relation just to the road itself, but not necessarily other houses in the surrounding community.
Okay, let's take a look at the 3Ds.
Okay, thank you. The side elevations, again, minimizing the glazing on the second floor. These windows are up high. The bottom of the windows are roughly at about 5 feet. So not possible for someone to be looking out from these windows to the side properties. And again, there's this stepped back massing. We call it the wedding cake approach. And we see here our lower floor with quite a bit of roof, consistent with 1-story to 2-story massing. And this is our 3D rendering. Again, the landscaping is for artistic purposes, so you can see the detail of the house design. And then there'll be 2-dimensional color elevations showing the true landscape. But as you can see, the massing, again, the stepping from 1-story to 2-story on the sides, and then the stepping back of the front facade, keeping in mind that this central portion is at 46 feet. when the code minimum is 30. There's approximately another 5 feet to 50 plus to the side windows here, and then even further to the wings beyond. So this distance across the front here is about 25 feet, this courtyard. And so we feel it is a pleasing massing and very much consistent with other two-story homes in the district with this wedding cake
Have an
approach.
objection to the windows, or am I off base here? And that vertical element?
I think that I'm more, I can't see the vertical element on the artistic view.
Well, so I agree with Richard, it's hard to tell what you're looking at with the setbacks, because even in 3D, it looks like it's 1D, but if the issue is, Richard, I think the issue is the entryway is, just from the renderings, again, we could be wrong if we had a 3D model sitting on the desk, but I think from the renderings, with that window right above the entryway, I know it's set back to 46, I think that's grabbing, the mayor's eye.
Okay, that's fine.
I agree with that.
Of the mayor.
Well, this window in the center is in a spot where it could be reduced in size. It could be a decorative window. It could be a little square window with shutters like you see here that are on the ground floor to help break up the 3 windows in succession. And that, possibly could reduce the verticality that the mayor is referring to through the front entry here. And then this window also could be more of a decorative window, possibly an elliptical shape or a circular window without shutters. Or it could be eliminated altogether, but I think it would be nice to have some fenestration down in the center. But if you want, we could scroll through to look at the elevation with the true landscaping at this point before returning back. As a matter of fact, I believe we were going to get into the landscaping right after this slide, so it might be a opportune.
I'm sure that would help. I think the vice mayor actually hit the nail on the head, because you've got this front doorway, which is very narrow because it's single. It has a cornice atop it, which is arrow-shaped, pointing right at that narrow decorative vertical window. So your eye is immediately drawn to the verticality of that elevation. I think your suggestions to address it make sense, either squaring them up somewhat and/or shutters to break up that look.
Yeah, absolutely. We could certainly accommodate any concerns that you have. Just to show you the 2-dimensional elevation with the proposed landscaping from Mr. Vlahos, there is a significant amount of landscaping that is in the island of the circular drive, actually by design for some of these reasons. We know screening is extremely important in Gulfstream, and so if you can see the front elevation here, some of the palm trees actually, just about all of them, screen out the majority of the second floor facade. This center window that you're referring to does poke through, and we could certainly accommodate by a modification of that window, to reduce its impact for sure. And that would still maintain consistency with the style of architecture. If you look at the rear elevation, as I scroll over, you can see that consistency with the trees screening out the upper floor. Of course, the view to the water is the reason for our client. And if I did not mention earlier, my apology, it's Alex and Francesca Lewis, who are current Gulfstream residents. And Mr. Lewis is on the call with us at this time. And they very much wanted to maintain their view of the water, hence Mr. Vlahos's landscape design, preserving that view, but at the same time, screening the second floor of the home. And then the side elevations, and I know there's a house in there somewhere, but again, full screening of the sides from the adjacent property, and you can see that mature ficus hedge that we're really trying hard to preserve at the ground level. So if we go back to the front, and I could try to zoom in even a little bit more. I believe that's the most it will let me zoom in, is what you're seeing there. But we could certainly accommodate, and these three windows across the front could all get a foot reduced, similar to the window that's along the side. And maybe I should go back to the 3D rendering to show you that.
They all have shutters too, right?
Yes, they all have shutters. And Rebecca, if you're able to bring that back up for me, I'd appreciate it.
Give me 1 second.
Those windows, I think you said are 6 feet?
Yes, those windows are 6 feet tall. This is the 3D rendering. Now, the windows to the left-hand side here that are in a bedroom, those are only 5 feet tall. And you can see a distinct difference between the 3 in the front and the 2 that are off to the side. My recommendation would be to change all 3 of these windows to be consistent with the height of the window on the side, as well as the shutters, which I think would probably have more of an impact than changing just the center window. Keeping again in mind that the 2-dimensional elevation that you saw, this whole center island here is filled with palm trees that, cover the entire facade. But
I trust your judgment on that, and I prefer that approach that you just mentioned, shortening them by a foot, having the shutters, keeping the middle window.
I agree, and I think looking at it now, it's always nice to take a second look, and we do always appreciate the comments, that I think that would actually be an improvement on the front facade. So I thank you very much for that comment, Mr. Mayor.
I think that also it's hard to see any contrast between the shutters and the windows. If it was more separate, like if you put in a different, I can't see it. I don't know if it's just my eyes, but I can't see anything different. So if you just made the shutters a more contrasting color, I think that would give it more perception, or you'd get more detail.
Absolutely.
I can't tell the difference. I can't even see the shutters on the front except from the plan.
Have a contrasting color.
Yeah, and I'll give it more depth.
That should be fine. I agree. We could, as a condition of approval, we could shorten those windows to be consistent with the adjacent window and go 5 feet tall. And there could be a slight variation on the colors.
If we're in agreement, how do we proceed with that? Rita? Should we approve this application? We now have some modifications.
Yeah.
Must they come back?
No, I don't think so.
We bring them back to staff.
Well, it just needs to be a color that's acceptable from our.
Right.
color.
From our chart.
Exactly. Okay. So with the modifications that you described and a color change with some contrast that Ms. Ortline described, consistent with our color chart.
And the staff could prove that.
And the staff can approve those, then that would meet with at least my approval.
That's fine. I mean, if I could see any contrast in colors, I don't know if 5 feet or 6 foot window makes a difference, but I just can't see any contrast.
No, I can't either.
So, I don't know which is better if you show us some contrast in colors, and I don't wanna muddy the water here. But if we had a better feeling about the contrast, I don't know you would say 5 foot is better than 6.
I believe the 5 feet, is actually better than the 6 feet. And, again, those rooms, and certainly we could work with staff on the actual color selection from the chart.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything else we need to review? Yes, Mr.
Mr. Jones, it's, Greg Dunham. I was just, I wanted to ask you a question about your swales, your detention requirements, and whether you think, as Ms. Thorpine was asking you about the seawall, you have, significant swale coverage in the backyard, and you have it in the front also. Would that help mitigate any concerns about drainage, because of the, increased height of both the yard and the seawall?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, the civil engineer on this project, Enviro Design in Delray Beach, they have done the civil engineering on several homes in Gulfstream. They designed for the 100-year storm event, and the amount of swales on the site is to maintain all of the potential water that would fall on this property and maintain it on site and not divert water to other properties. But again, the seawall raising up 24 inches is a direct result of the FEMA guidelines, and I agree with Mrs. Orthwein's recommendation to reach out to the neighbors and see if they would want to join in and possibly raise theirs as well.
That happened on Middle Road. I mean, the neighbors all got together and they all raised their seawall, but it's a personal decision. But I just want everyone to understand the impact of putting this.
Sure.
I mean, and I don't want it to happen and not everyone be aware how big. I mean, they have no choice.
They don't have a
Oh,
choice.
no, they don't have a choice, but I think we need to prepare the neighbors for what's going to happen, because they're not gonna you wouldn't understand it until you saw it. Does that make sense?
That's a very good, we notify our neighbors of this proposed application, but they don't.
But they're not going to understand everything.
Yeah.
I don't wanna talk over you
No.
or anything, but they are just, when this happens,
That's true.
it's you know how everyone's, oh yeah, it was fine, we don't bother, and then all of a sudden it's there in front of them, and they're like, oh my gosh, how could you have done this?
Good, really good point.
So I think education and trying to get them to go along, because I do know on Middle Road, this was years ago, maybe 20 years ago, when they were doing a lot of construction for houses, they all raised their seawalls, but at least they were prepared for what was going to come.
Right.
And you didn't have what's going to happen is that intercoastal water is going to flood right through everybody else's yard, which probably happens now in some places. But it's going to be worse. It's not going to be worse, it's just going to have one less path to go through.
What's the best way to notify?
I don't know, Greg, what do you think?
Well, we can,
I'm more worried about the older house to the,
well, what we can do is, at least when we get the application, of course, we have to send out notifications to all the surrounding neighbors, point that out to them.
and
And
if you could maybe just call the immediate neighbors, because a lot of times they'll get notifications and
and they
No,
won't
ignore
even think about that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think
Either a specific letter or a call to everyone on that code.
Yeah.
We can do that with the next code.
Then I feel like they know what's going to happen.
yeah, 'cause it's not going to stop occurring.
No, this has to happen.
Right.
It's just that it's going to prepare them.
Right.
Very good point, thank you. Right. Thanks, John. So let's do that. Okay, any other comments, questions? We've got a lot to cover today.
I have a question.
Yes. Oh,
To the town staff, did we get any comments from the neighbors to the east, to the west?
No. No comments.
And then I have an observation. I thank the other commissioners and Mr. Jones for their collaborative effort to make the proposed change as it relates to the vertical elevation. I think it's a good solution. Thank you.
Okay,
No
very
more
good.
from me.
Anyone want to make a motion? For Vice Mayor?
Okay, I'll make a motion, for the approval of the application for 530 Old School Road. First is the approval of the demolition permit, to all existing structures on the lot.
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes?
Morgan,
Yes.
Next motion is the land clearing permit to clear the land enough to build a new structure or treat it as on LP2 metal plant.
Second.
Rita?
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White, Orthwine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes?
Mayor Morgan,
Yes.
Next, approval is a special exception. Special exception permit an additional 153 square feet of covered open area that exceeds the FAR, and I believe that was for the upstairs balcony.
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White, Commissioner Orthwine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes?
Morgan.
Yes.
The last approval is the level 3 architectural and site plan, and that's to permit the demolition of all existing structures, clearing the land to permit the construction of a new 5,066 square foot colonial West Indies 2-story single-family dwelling, 2.5-car garage, swimming pool, with the change that the 3 windows on the front elevation facing north will be reduced from 6 feet to 5 feet in height, and that the shutter colors will be revised to provide more dimension with the approval of the town staff.
Second.
I may want to add the
You
other
have all
minor
of
I'm
It's condition.
just reading that's the other two. And any minor modifications to the approval of landscaping shall be submitted to the town manager for review and approval, and any major modifications will be brought back to ARDB for review and approval prior to commencement of landscaping. And second one is the, prior to the issuance of the building permit, the owner of the property should sign a Gulfstream driveway removal.
Second?
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes?
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Move on now to, the Orangetti application. This is 554 Palm Way. And, who is going to speak?
It's gonna be, Mr. Matthew Strauss.
Oh, this is going to be virtual as well.
Yes.
One second. Get him up.
Hello. Hello? Yes, hello. Can anyone hear me?
We can't see you.
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Oh, okay. One moment, please. Yes, okay, great. Is that it? Okay.
There he is.
Oh, good.
Good morning to the commission. How are you all? Good to
Good
see you.
morning, Mr. Strauss. We're going to swear you in.
Would you please raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Would you proceed, please?
I have a presentation, I believe, Rebecca, too, may be providing that file. I just wanted to check if that's capable. Okay, it's live. Okay, great.
Can you give me 1 second? The camera for the commission has disappeared. So just give me 1 second.
Please take your time.
Okay. It appears to be off of the, it must have timed out or something. Please give me just 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Dunham, perhaps you could just quickly summarize the application for us, and bring us up to speed, save us a little time.
Sure. May I start?
Yeah, can he start, even though we're not?
I would prefer if you just gave me 1 second for the continuity of the recording.
Sure.
I promise I'll only take
I
a
guess
second.
everybody has to be put on hold here. Yep.
Or you can go to webinar.
Webinar.
It's not so hot, but when you put this on, it makes it hot.
72.
Under the,
75 right now, it's working as hard as it can.
with the lights, I think, and everything.
These are fluorescent bulbs.
They should be
I think it's just understood.
I see it's having trouble keeping up there.
But is there an issue with the video transmission?
Yes.
1 second, I promise.
We can see you, however, the commission video has failed.
Oh, okay.
So
Sure.
for purpose of public record, we have to get that up and running.
Bring lunch?
I offered, I signed checks the other day, I asked for Renee, I said, should I bring lunch?
Bring dinner.
Oh, that's frightening.
Who said that?
Oh dear.
Can you move your chair in just a little?
Yeah, but I didn't want
Over
to be
towards,
so much near the light.
that may
I'm
have.
still making put my mask on, is one thing.
Okay.
I like to be out of them.
I'm with you.
I thought I was getting by, Rita, how did you bring that up?
Because somebody's gonna ask me
I thought you were like,
a year from now. Oh, I can only see half.
I can't breathe and I can't see.
I know.
I know, well, it seems then you kind of get cloudy, dry for something. Yeah. I thought I was going blind with that last night. I'm like, shut it off. Oh, Lordy.
Wonder why it changed, because we had them all in earlier.
We're getting further and further back, and I still can't get them.
You know, my neighbor across the street has not had, they didn't have water most of yesterday, their water.
Well, if we move closer together,
Okay.
are we ready to proceed?
Yeah.
Mr. Ostrowski, I'm gonna ask that you, make your presentation. This is a, proposed addition of 2 balconies. So we've got, kind of a limited application, so if you could be pointed and brief, we can hopefully address this issue promptly. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you and good morning. My name is Matthew Ostrowski. I'm the architect for the Lawrence Residence Addition and Landscaping Project at 554 Gulf Way, Palm Way, sorry, in Gulfstream. This project is in the south part of the town on the waterway and Palm Way. The scope of work is, let me see. The scope of work is to add 2 balconies to the rear facade facing the waterway, and also to do some facade upgrades to the entryway, ornamental trim and lighting upgrades, which we'll get to later. Replacement of existing balcony railings to match proposed balcony railings. At the balcony, they will have a sort of an X4.
I can't hear you.
Okay,
Can you hear us, Mr. Ostrowski?
He looks like he's still talking.
That cuts us off when he's speaking.
Mr. Ostrowski, we
yard.
can't hear
I'll show you.
you. Okay, there we go.
You can't hear me? Oh, I'm sorry. Was there anything that was missed? Hopefully
Well,
not.
we're not sure.
Why don't you
Okay.
put up, Mr. Ostrowski, why don't you put up the balconies? Can you scroll to that, please?
Yes.
Just take a look at them.
I'm trying to scroll it to, okay. This is, okay. That was the streetscape for the north facade at the entrance. I think there's a bit of a lag with the video, but I will work to make it. Am I controlling the scrolling?
Let's just look at the balcony itself.
There you go.
There it is. This would be the broad facade of the south elevation, showing the proposed balconies in between 3 of the structures that are existing. On the east is a loggia, in the middle is a living room and dining space, and a living room to the southwest corner. The balconies would allow for walkways onto them from the 2nd floor with proposed impact glazing, and it would be consistent with the overall design, which is Dutch colonial, provided by a stucco finish and this steel and concrete structure that would be within it. It also allows for a covered entry over the 2 rear entries to the house, to the kitchen and to the living space. Let me see if I can get the location and context. I'm sorry, I apologize, there's a bit of a lag here with the transfer of screens. Here's the site plan showing the 2 balconies attached to the south facade, and they are 110 square feet, approximately 111 square feet each. This complies with the special exception that was applied for last week or 2 weeks ago for compliance with covered areas with a 2-to-1 ratio for existing within the floor area ratio.
Any questions?
The balconies will.
From the commission? Let's move on to the front entry, the new pediment.
Okay. Please bear with me for a moment while we get the scroll. As it scrolls, I can mention that this is the landscape work that may be discussed later for passageway, that street screen. Is it possible for someone else to control the presentation, because I'm having problems getting it to progress to the next slide?
Well, even if you can't, we have it in front of us, hard copies. You can describe it to us.
Yes. So the entry facade will provide for in upgraded and more complementary detailing to the Dutch colonial facade, including pediment moldings and casing for the second floor window, and a detail of tiling above that window on a flat pediment using a white tile and a herringbone pattern, which would not sort of conflict with any of the design features of the context and neighborhood. Additionally, a pediment molding and casing will be placed around the entry loggia, which would be to provide some contour and relief and detailing to that entryway, rather than sort of a simplistic form. And in addition to that detailing, we're adding electric lighting instead of gas lighting on the 2 pillars, and also under the ceiling of that loggia. Lighting will also be provided for at the garage entry, and in a total of 6 or 7 lighting locations that already exist. The south, let's see, the north elevation, we covered that. Would you like me to look at the detail of the balconies again, or would you like to continue talking about the entryway?
No, I don't think we have any other questions on the balconies, do we? And in the entryway, you have anything else to add to that?
We want to maintain an aligned, symmetrical, consistent facade, and be respectful of the neighboring context. And we are going to be consistent with the design standards by providing colors that are consistent with the city standards and materials that are compliant, as well as to meet any building related codes such as wind loads and durability features in order to preserve the quality of the house.
Okay. There was some landscaping that you mentioned.
Yes, the landscaping is to enclose the parking area and continue and complete the street screen and privacy buffer for the parking area and for the for the west yard. This would be provided by existing clusia hedges that would be removed and replanted with the addition of only one clusia. The total is 12 clusias. 11 would be removed. Additionally, complementary matching pavers would be provided at the gateway. And we enlarged the gate from the previous meeting presentation to 6 feet wide rather than 3 feet wide because we determined that we needed to have mower access for landscaping. So it was a practical decision, and also that gate would not be visible from the street because it's surrounded by the 2 layers of hedges. A fence would continue between the hedges just for security reasons and also just to provide some stability to the soil in the area. It would connect to a site wall that would be built out of concrete block and plastered with a matching stucco and paint with the cantilever footing sufficient to prevent any sort of differential settlement of that structure. It would attach to the house and anchor in. It's 3.5 feet tall, and it matches the existing site wall, which is shown in a previous slide. I think it's slide number 12. Yeah, you just had it there. It was after the site plan, enlarged site plan. A few more forward, I believe. There it is. This is the site wall that's proposed, and this is the gate that's proposed. It would be a matching construction to the existing gate, which is aluminum framed and powder coated.
Gentlemen, on your street, any comments?
Fine with me.
Okay.
Actually, I think the front entryway will probably look nice, we'll add some detailing.
Yeah, and it's different, a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a good addition.
Any other comments, questions regarding this application? If not, do we have any motions? Joan?
Okay, motion to approve a special exception to allow up to 300 square feet of roof production covered unenclosed areas that exceed the allowable FAR by 185 square feet. Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes.
Motion to approve a level 3 architectural site plan based on a finding that the addition of 2 balconies to the existing 2-story Dutch colonial single-family dwelling and the extension of a privacy stucco wall, a fence, a new hedges meet the minimum intent of the design manual and applicable review standards for the following condition. Is 1, minor modification in the approved landscaping shall be submitted to the town manager for review and approval, and any major modification shall be brought back to the ARTB for review and approval prior to the commencement of landscaping. Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Ostrowski. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for the difficulties.
Oh, no worries at all. Thanks to the commission for your time and hard work for the town. Thank you so much.
Okay, let's move on to 3054 Gulf Spring Road. Maybe? Yes. Morning, Dave.
I'm going. Y'all just give me a second. I'll make this bigger.
Mr. Bodker, you need to unmute your mic.
He's good.
He's good?
He's good. I mean, his mic is not muted and his camera's on.
Dave, can you hear us? No, we can't hear you.
No, we cannot hear you.
No, we can't hear you. Nope. Go back to Zoom next time.
Mr. Bodker, we still can't hear you. Can you try turning off your microphone and then turning it back on? Can you try to turn your microphone back on, sir?
Try to say something.
Nope, his microphone is still turned off. Diane, can you pop the, or Dave, can you pop the little orange arrow out so you can see the toolbox and then go down to audio? And then select your microphone, or you can switch over to a phone call and call in.
He's got eyes around all the trees he's keeping.
You could just call in on a telephone, put him on the speaker.
It's because he has all the trees marked on the lot.
Then Rebecca could scrolling, although he could probably do that too. But this is getting,
Okay, try now. Nope, still can't, I still have nothing.
Rebecca, can he call in? We put him on a speaker.
Mr. Bodker, can you call in, please? Maybe switch audio to a phone call?
On your phone.
Yeah, I was thinking of cell phone.
I know.
Just call in with your cell phone.
I know, I was thinking I could call him on my cell phone.
Or yeah, can we call him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we
Yeah,
have
when we
his
call
phone
him.
number?
Just
We
just
can put him on
your cell
speaker.
phone here so we can hear. This move.
I think this is a pretty easy application. In
Ask
general.
Dave what his number is. Dave, we're gonna try to call you on his cell phone.
Okay, the Bodkers are calling in. They'll be joining us momentarily.
Okay. That is a demolition permit, land clearing.
And landscape,
All right,
yeah.
let's go through this pretty quick.
Yeah, talk.
Good morning.
Perfect.
Oh, good, okay.
Just so you know, the message that we're getting here is that we need to be unmuted by the organizer.
Good.
And I could hear you guys just fine, but apparently you couldn't hear me at all.
We're gonna swear you in, Dave.
Sure.
Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, thank you.
Good morning. This morning I'm representing Bill Holding, 3032 Gulfstream Road, Gulfstream. I think Josh Weaver is here with us. He's with Mal Construction, and they will be doing the demolition work. And we are seeking a demolition permit for the existing house, pool, and other paved areas at 3054 Gulfstream Road. That's at the corner of Gulfstream Road and Middle Road. Our intention is to remove the minimum number of trees possible, and that's what this plan reflects that's on the screen. The trees we would like to remove include 4 solitaire palms. I don't know if you can see the cursor.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so those are in this area, and that's to allow access from the machinery that comes in to do the demolition. Additionally, we want to remove 2 cedar trees that are right up against the house, one here and one there. These appear from the road more like huge shrubs. There's an older Thrynax palm right in this corner as well we would like to take out. There's some smaller trees in the backyard near the pool in the house here. They're hibiscus trees and 1 pygmy date palm. There's 1 additional tree we want to take out, which is right here. It's out of the way, but unfortunately it's in very bad condition, so we might as well take it out at this time. The existing trees and hedges will be protected during demolition by temporary fencing in the locations as shown by the heavy dash line. So that's this line here, the lines around here, and so forth. After completion of the demolition, the yard will be sodded and irrigated. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have, or like I say, Josh Weaver from Mal Construction's on the phone with us, and any questions you may have regarding the actual demolition work, we can address to Josh.
Dave, Paul Lyons, help me with context. So you're going to demolish the property, or demolish their home and pool. What happens next?
The Holdings own the house just to the south of this at 3032. So they own this property right here. And for the time being, they're just going to get rid of the old house, and the property will sit vacant until they decide whether they want to build or sell or what have you in the future. But their intention is to live in this house when they're in town.
Thank you.
The house to the south when they're in town.
Yeah, I understood.
Mayor, I have a question for Dave. Dave, doesn't the lot, when you're done, want to have a swale that surrounds the lot on each side to help collect runoff?
Yes.
So we're just removing the existing building and sodding it, irrigating it, and
That is correct.
and taking care of drain runoff water. Any questions? Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve a demolition permit.
Second?
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes.
And I'll move to approve a land clearing permit to remove 13 trees less than 8 inches in diameter.
Second?
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner White? Commissioner White? Commissioner Orthwein? Mayor Morgan?
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Motion to approve a level 3 architecture site plan to demolish the structure and to resod and irrigate the entire lot.
Second?
Taylor?
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you all very much.
All right. let's move on to 4225 North County Road. This is the Powell residence. And who do we have? Mr. Rizzo. See if we can get that one going.
Tiny lot.
Oh my gosh.
I wonder if they'd be better to start out right, that house is good, like, renovate so many times, not my decision.
Can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you, Mr. Rizzo, but I'm sending you a webcam request. I need you to share your webcam.
Yeah, I'm hitting it. And can you send it one more time?
Yes, of course.
I just re-hit my camera, so.
So,
It says it's already in use. Why would it say that?
I'm not sure.
Okay, give me 1 second here.
If you,
Can you send me the link right now, and then I'll hit the camera.
okay.
It's pretty. Okay, move on. It is pretty. It's a lot prettier than what's there. Isn't it cute?
Yeah. Well, any other questions?
I'm finished.
I'm having trouble. I don't know why I see myself on my camera, but it's not allowing me to connect to you.
You have to go, so if in your taskbar that has a little orange arrow, you have to select share my webcam, and you have to authorize us to see it.
That's it. You got it. Thank you.
There you go. And you've got control over the presentation.
Can you see me?
No.
But we can hear you.
We can hear you, that's all we need.
I can hear you. Can you see me? Well, maybe I don't want. All right.
I just think there's a slight delay, but you have control. You can go ahead and start. Or
I'll start. I know that the commission's time is valuable.
Rizzo, we're gonna swear you in.
Yes, sir.
Would you raise your right hand, please?
Yes,
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Rizzo, you may proceed.
Good morning. My name's Michael Rizzo. I'm with Rizzo and Rizzo, and I represent Sandra and Robert Powell. They purchased this house in the north-south zoning district. It's let me just get control here. Do I have control of the presentation?
yes.
Okay. Just bear with me. Okay.
We're all familiar with this property, you can hit the highlights.
Okay, here's the highlights. We're kind of in a catch-22 because it's a non-conforming property on a non-conforming lot. We've really advanced this, but we really need your approval to do anything here. Currently, the lot is less than 6,000 square feet. They would like to put an addition on the house. Right now, the house is about 1,000 square feet. Under your zoning regulations, they'd like to bring the house up to approximately just under 2,500 square feet, which is allowed by a special exception. But in order to do that, first, you would have to grant us the special exception to even do the addition. The second one would be allowing us to an FAR exemption to keep the property under 2,500 square feet.
Okay.
what we've done is originally, if you look at this site plan, there was an original circular driveway. And what they did over time, they enclosed what was probably the porte-cochere or the carport at one time, and they made that the kitchen. But it's wood frame construction. It's really not, it's not anything that would conform to existing code. The other thing that we found out is the existing septic system has a 500-gallon tank. We need 900 today. So what really is driving this was to bring this house up into today's living conditions and also providing a new septic system. So our approach, I'm just going to go through this. Back one more. My mouse is faster than the delay here. What we were requesting is to demo the front of the house, because again, this front portion here is all wood frame. There's actually some wood framing over here. We want to demo the front part of this house, and in essence, square up the front of the house to create a study or a den. Along the back side is a master bedroom. Create a dining room over here with some covered patio area, and then again squaring up the front elevation to make it really a presentable place for Gulfstream, and to put the extension of a kitchen here in this quadrant here. In what it really does is you can see where the lattice, this is kind of a built storage shed. We bump this wall out over here, and this becomes the kitchen area. And then we bump this, the entrance is on the side over here. I know you have the pictures in your packet. There's an entrance over here, but we bring this out further to a study. The other thing that's interesting about this property, it's all load-bearing wall. Mostly every wall in this place is block. And because it's a very tight, narrow site, we are staying within the existing setbacks. We only have 10 feet on either side of the either side setback. The house is very dark. So what we did, taking advantage of the load-bearing walls, is the living room portion of the house will have a double height space that will allow us to let some light and air into the middle of the house. That's how we drive our form. It also gives it more of a pleasing front entry. You can see from the floor plan, again, sorry, my mouse is a little faster than, just trying to get back one more. You can see here, the shaded area is the actual existing house. This area here would be the additional part where the study, the kitchen, the dining room, and the master bedroom. Again, indicating that's the kind of the porte-cochere, the existing floor plan there, or the enclosed carport. What we intend to do on the site, our new septic, we're asking for land clearing permit because the existing septic's field and tank is in the front of the house. So we need to remove all that material. Some of the queen palms, they have holes in them, they're diseased. They're really not that in great shape anyway. But we would clear to install our septic field here, our tank, and this is a very high-end hybrid system. It's not a conventional septic tank. I can get into that if you want. We're proposing to keep under our hardscape guideline, Chattahoochee or stone in the driveway. Although any water runoff will be caught by trench drains, and we back in, we do some retention in this back portion of the house. We're working with Enviro Design. They are handling our septic and grading. I can answer specific questions to that. At the last ARB meeting, we know we are subject to provide more additional landscaping, but our concept is this, and the reason we need to provide more is we need a little help from you to be able to even do this project. We need those special exceptions, and we'll greatly provide suitable landscaping. But in general, There's two large original banyans in the back corners. Those will remain. A Calusa hedge along the three sides, and then there will be center planting and some foundation plantings in the front. I know the owners have spoken to the two adjoining property owners, and they love the idea of the hedge. If you look at some of the photos you have, I mean, it's kind of busted up wood, white fence. It's not anything that is really worth saving. Again, if you just kind of compare the two, you know, the existing and the proposed, I think there's a tremendous impact on the street and also on the neighborhood. The two owners, they intend to live here, and the way we're looking at this, because under your ordinance, you know, we calculate like 2,392 square feet, but the actual under area of this house is like 17,053. So it's a small house, but we're looking at it as a jewel box. And it's not a big open floor plan. It's kind of small and contained for Mr. and Mrs. Powell. And we're excited about the project, and we just hope you are as well.
If we were to grant your request for special exceptions, do I understand that you would be coming back with landscaping for the
Yes,
staff?
sir. And yes, sir. I think that was the motion out of ARB, and we would come to the town for approval before any landscaping is done.
And that's correct, Mr. Mayor. They added a condition at the ARPB meeting that prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, a landscape plan will be approved by the town commission and installed by the owner. And the issue that the ARPB had was, you know, with the center, the height of the living room and its impact from the street, that it just seemed like it was, you know, a very large type impact, you know, in the center of the building. And so they were looking for more landscaping in the front, you know, that they've got the circular drive, so in the front of it. And so that's why they made that recommendation. They don't really have a landscape plan that they've submitted.
Right.
And so, because our understanding was that the owners wanted to see what the house looked like and then develop a landscape plan for it. So that was
excuse me, we do have a preliminary landscape plan, but what we did not plant the front of the house, which would be the center island, and the foundation along the front. But we are proposing a Calusa hedge, three sides, retaining the banyans in either the north and the southeast corners.
Okay, but that needs to be completed in the next month.
That's okay. It's just, we're just getting to the point of the special exceptions. Why does the center box have to be so high?
It's really not. It looks high in elevation, but you have to understand, you know, no one ever sees that in real life. You got to understand the way this site sits. The site literally drops 4 feet from the steps to the edge of the driveway. So this is taking, actually, it would actually be lower. Your perspective view to that center is going to look like this. You got to remember that wall of the cupola is approximately 40 to 45 feet off the street line. So perspective, that's a more realistic rendering of what you see versus the elevation. Because again, at the edge of the driveway, you're down 3 to 4 feet from the steps. So you're going to have a more perspective view like you're seeing here. The other thing, I think you have to look at the context of where this is. I'm just trying to get there. It sits, you know, I'm just getting to the aerial. It sits, you know, one lot over from A1A. You know, you got houses 30 and 40 feet here. You got, you know, these towers over 100 feet. The top of our tower is about 27 feet. it's well within, it's lower than the adjoining property line, any building in its vicinity.
No, I agree. To outfit it with windows, you need to have the space. I'm looking at these elevations, particularly the west front elevation. You need to have that height to finish it and have it in perspective.
Yeah. Actually, you're very perceptive. That actually window sill is set just below the minimum of the flashing that we would need for that window sill. And we could have dropped, our roof pitch is only a 412. It's not even a real steep pitch roof. And if we can't get those and the front windows are only basically 3x3, and we're not even doing a flat soffit. We're going to do like a cathedral soffit with outriggers, which is going to bring that top down as much as we can. And I really think, I know there's some concerns with this, but what this cupola does to the interior space, it really makes the house, because if you look at the floor plan, that living room it doesn't have any exterior light to it other than filtering through like the breakfast area. So to let some light and ventilation into that living room, that's what really drove this. The other thing too is, I just think if you take that cupola off, just look what the house looks like without it. I mean, it looks like, it's not very pleasing, I think.
Okay. Well, thank you for hitting the highlights. I appreciate that very much. Any questions?
A lot better than up there. It's a really improvement.
One thing, it doesn't show up, or I don't see it on the rendering of the drawing, but, what you showed, the picture, it almost looks like copper gutters that went along the side of the house, the front. Yeah.
Yes, we are proposing copper gutters.
They tarnish, fine. They tarnish like with a day. Because the house on Middle Road and Gulfstream put them up one day, and I kind of went, oh my gosh. And the next week, you didn't even notice them.
Yeah, no, they're great. Love it. That's a really nice finish.
I think because our proximity to the ocean, it's just going to be the most durable material for us.
Okay, any other questions? If not, do I hear a motion? Mr. Lyons. Oh, I'm sorry, Paul?
I know that during the ARPB meeting, there was a lot of discussion about that structure. I think it was referred to by the architect as a cupola, and it really it's bigger than a cupola in my opinion. And it's kind of, I'm having a hard time absorbing the architectural feature by adding what almost looks like a second floor, but isn't a second floor, and it's not a cupola. And it really, I don't know how it fits into the streetscape of County Road. So I'd like to spend a little more time on, I understand the lighting objective. I mean, I can appreciate that it's an interior room. But when I look at the actual structure, maybe the rendering's not correct, but I don't see how it doesn't have that much window. In fact, it looks like it's got some kind of shutters or something. So I'm not really crazy about that. And I know that some other members of the architecture review board were also concerned about it. So I'd like to have a little more discussion about it. I think it gives it a certain unusual vertical look. I think it's a beautiful building without it, in my opinion.
I just disagree. If you look at those lined elevation drawings, one of the things I was struggling with was it looked like a cement bunker without it. When you, and I'm just, this rendering is correct, by the way. It's more correct than the elevation drawings. When you see the detailing, you see your eye is going to go up to the underside of the soffit, and you're going to see outriggers along this, which is going to make it light and airy. Again, we also have the white flat tile. These are Bahama shutters, which actually the sun kind of comes along this edge all day long. So we wanted to, we wanted to provide some sun screening because it would be intense, because we would get that intense sun. So that's why we chose the Bahama shutters. And again, you're looking, this rendering is more correct to what you would envision at the street level than the elevation, because again, and I do call it a cupola. It's set back about 40 feet off the street, and over here you got to remember you're down 3 to 4 feet from this step level, so it's going to be, it's almost hidden by the overhang of this roof. And if, in fact, if your eye level was over here, because of the front gable end of this, which we're hiding the gutter and the roof here, you won't even see a lot of it. If you're like standing here, your eye won't even see that, because again, we only have about 25 feet from the face of this building to the street, which is only 10 feet wide anyway. I mean, you got to remember, we're on County Road. County Road wasn't even a town road. It's 10 feet. You can't even, it's one way. There's not two-way traffic there. It's not like there's people standing on that street, walking by, visualizing this property, which I think we have a nice front elevation, don't get me wrong, but I think the way you see this and perceive this building in its context is important.
Well, I want to move on beyond this discussion. So I'll go back to the notion of the landscaping and how the landscaping, to the extent that we agree to disagree, maybe the landscaping would certainly soften the view from the street. And so that landscaping that will be in the circle, or the interior circle, will be critical. And so we'll have to have discussion on that later on. But I think I should point out now that I feel pretty strongly that we need to try to soften it with landscaping if we're going to leave it as is. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, oh, definitely, 100%. I agree with you, and that's the purpose of the landscape plan, is to soften anything you don't. And we have that center island to take advantage of that.
Okay, and then you said the neighbors have, first of all, let me ask staff, have there been any comments from the neighbors, not just to the north and south, but this house sits sort of a little bit on a bluff, I believe, vis-a-vis the house to the east. So were there any comments from anybody, not just the north and south, but also the east?
This house sits on the east and looks west.
I'm sorry, Greg, I couldn't quite hear what you said.
So townhouses from 4001 are directly behind it.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, thank you.
There's been no comment from anyone.
Well, they're taller than this, a lot taller.
But it's going to be a nice house.
I mean, what the backyard of 4001 townhouse.
And I agree, I don't like the size of that either, but I think it's important to get light in there, and you can't have higher pitched roof with skylights. Could it have been made smaller? Perhaps, but I like the decorative finish of the windows, and I don't know that you can make it smaller without that. I share your concern, Paul.
if you could put in some taller palm trees, and it'll give it some dimension, some height. And it will take away from you looking at the cupola. You'll be more focused on high and low.
A single window cupola would look a little odd.
Yeah. I don't.
You know, my thought is that this is a county road, as the architect pointed out, is a narrow road. A number of the houses I would categorize as the old Florida. I think they're very quaint and charming, and frankly, the existing building I think is fine. I'm not saying that this improvement isn't a good improvement, but the circumstance of this property is so unique that in order to get some light in there, you have to find some creative ways. Unless I guess you put in headers and you made it a totally open space kind of building. But I'm not sure that gets enough light either, and getting in too much of the interior detail that should be the homeowner. So my feeling as one commissioner is that while it's not ideal from my perspective, I understand the circumstances, and I think with the right landscaping, I think we as a commission should show that flexibility.
Almost looks like a schoolhouse, doesn't it?
With access.
Well,
It would look like a little schoolhouse.
Well, I think that's the consensus, is that this is a compromise and it improves the property, and the landscaping will be critical
Yeah.
to helping
I mean, the houses
cover it.
next door are just, I mean, this is such an improvement, I can't tell you, for that area.
Okay. All right, if, any other comments from any other commissioners? Then we'll turn to any motions.
Do you want to do it, Tom?
Sure, I can do it.
Okay.
Motion, first motion is motion to approve a demolition permit for the demolition of selected areas for a house located at 4225 North County Road.
Second. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Earthwine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes.
Second motion is motion to approve a special exception of floor area ratio for not less than 7,576. Is that the right number? Or a lot less, not less than 7,576 square feet.
Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Earthwine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes.
Third motion is motion to approve a special exception for additions to the structure at 4225 North County Road with existing non-conforming setbacks.
Second.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Earthwine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes.
The last motion is a motion to approve a level 3 architectural site plan based on a finding of the selected demolition of a single-story 1,879 square foot house and reconstruction addition to the house using a total square footage of 2,392 square feet, including a double height living room, meets the minimum intended design manual and applicable review standards with following conditions. One, that a full landscape plan be submitted by the applicant to be approved by ARPB prior to the issuance of the CO. And two, any minor modifications in the approved landscaping shall be submitted to the town manager for review and approval. Any major modifications shall be brought back to the ARPB for review and approval prior to the commencement of the landscape.
Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Earthwine, Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Rizzo, very much.
Thank you, and we look forward to really refining the landscape to meet your approval and to a successful project. We will work hard for that.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I was
Thank
just
you.
thinking flowering trees in the front too, to give it not so much stark white. I mean, some more dimension.
Yeah, that's a nice.
Yes, and I take that under consideration. Thank you.
It won't look like a school.
Yeah. Got an act for this, John. Now, let's move on to 520 Middle Road. This is a variance issue. Is there anyone speaking on behalf of Mr. Suter?
I think, Mr. Souter is, presenting on behalf.
Okay.
I'm on. Can you all
There.
hear or see me?
Yeah, we can see you. Sound great.
How is everyone?
Gonna swear you in first.
Would you raise your right hand, please? You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Souter. See?
If I could real quick, before we get into the variance, I just want to sort of set this up. We do have an application for a variance. A variance is generally permission for a landowner to go outside the limits of the code to build something which would otherwise not be permitted. The code at section 66-154 lists the specific criteria that must be met for variance to be granted, and the town manager is included in that in his report on page 2. As it relates to this specific variance, I just want to draw everyone's attention to an ordinance that's on the agenda for later on in the meeting, ordinance number 20-3. We consulted with, or the town staff rather consulted with the planner to prepare for the variance hearing before the ARPB. And the planner says that the restrictions on this lot as it relates to the dock length were incorrect. So this variance, ordinance actually corrects that error. It allows a dock up to 28.1 feet. Mr. Souter is seeking a 30-foot wide dock, so he is still asking for an additional almost 2 feet. The 28 feet that are going to be allowed under the correction are identical to 2 lots that also have 43.3 feet of water frontage, and they're on the cove directly north of his property. So with the correction of this error, the applicant, like I said, would be permitted to have a dock that is 28.1 feet wide without the need for a variance. But Mr. Souter is still seeking the extra 2 feet. So I just wanted to explain that.
Okay, very good. So currently, under our code with some error there, he is entitled to 13.3 feet.
That's right, yes, sir.
And that is being changed by ordinance to be consistent with the other properties in the area to 28.1 feet.
That is correct.
But we're seeking a variance to 30 feet. Correct. Okay. All right, Mr. Souter.
All right. Thank you. Obviously, a lot was cleared up once we uncovered the error in the zoning there. So that's why I'm just really requesting, I guess, another 23 inches. And the whole reason why I'm doing that is just all I wanted to do all along was repair the seawall. And I can go through the presentation if you want. It was determined, one, because it was concrete, that I shouldn't repair it. It was kind of more replace. And then 2, because of the error in the zoning, which was, they determined it was 13 feet. We decided just to, for safety reasons, knock the whole thing down, not repair it. The whole seawall needed to be replaced, and timing and moving in and doing the whole house. We just needed to get that done. It was a 4-post dock that was there since 1964, I think, is when it was originally done. There are dolphin poles that are set in place that are in good shape, that are set for a 30-foot dock, which was just the original dock. I'd like to not go through the expense of moving those or trying to figure that out. And so thus the reason of really all I'm trying to do is just, I call it a repair. I guess it's a replace of the dock that was there that when I bought it, it just was in a very poor condition. And so for safety reasons, I decided just to knock it down instead of trying to keep the 2 posts that are on the side. So in short, I know you've had a long morning, so I'll keep it short and ask for questions, but that's just all I'm really trying to get done here.
Okay. Comments or questions?
I don't have a problem with this at all. I just, on a statement, I think if we're going to allow replacement of things, it's gonna have to be uniform throughout. I don't think we wanna get into everybody is treated equally.
Right.
So that's my only comment of this.
Yeah, that's my feeling as well. You're seeking a variance, and I think that we do meet the requirements of a variance up to 28.1 feet.
Yeah.
If that's what's consistent with the other properties under the code. To go beyond that would not meet the criteria of the variance. So my inclination would be to approve this because as I read it, this 13.3 feet or whatever it is, allows him to have a variance, meets every criteria, but up to that which is consistent with everyone else under the code. So it's 28.1 feet.
But actually he had a dock that was 30 feet there originally. Correct?
Correct. That's right.
And so all he's looking to do is replace that dock. That was existing. So what I'm saying is I think it's fine that he replaces it, but I don't know how to get over calling it a variance. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well,
Because I don't want to give variances are a tough situation.
Well, you would be conferring a special privilege on him. You gave him the
That's,
additional
yeah.
2 feet.
Well, see, I just want to give a special privilege to everyone. That's all I wanted to do. I think people should be able to replace what they have. I mean.
So they can do a certain percentage, but once it reaches a complete replacement essentially or substantial, then they have to bring that in conformance with the code. So there is a little bit of grandfathering as far as doing minor repair work, but when it's in such bad shape as I guess Mr. Salvador's dock was, it was more of an entire replacement, which you would need to bring it into conformity with the existing code. And that's why he's asking for.
Yeah, I understand it all. I mean, I understand the principle. I just think since he had it, he should be allowed to put it back. But you're saying it needs a variance. I don't know what I think.
Well, there's, it's not very much.
Mayor, I listened to the discussion in the ARPB, and I kind of agree with a perspective that also Commissioner Orthwein was referencing. My perspective is that while it may not be technically correct, to me it's really a matter of taking existing dimensions and repairing it. I know you got to take it out to put it back in, but I mean, basically, it's not like you tore down a house and then you built a totally different house. I mean, I think he's going to build something that's almost exactly what's there. Is that correct, Fritz?
That is absolutely correct. Yeah, I'm just going to go, instead of the concrete, which is no longer permitted, I'm going to go with the new wood that everybody is using.
So I'm looking at it, and again, I'm probably wrong when I say it's a replacement technically, but in terms of my judgment and how I would vote, that's how I'm looking at it.
I mean, we're all sympathetic to it. It's only a couple feet, but I can tell you that good facts make bad law. And you would be deviating from the legal standard of the variance and setting precedent that could come back to create more difficulties in the future.
I agree with that, but I do think that we need to, somehow in our code, we need to have something in there if people want to, even if it's a house and they want to rebuild it exactly on the same footprint and we're not allowing it anymore, somehow it doesn't seem quite fair. If they just want to bring everything up to standard of today's world, whether it's hurricane impact or a dock that's better. I'm opening a bigger can of worms, sorry. I just think that somehow we need to adopt to replace things as things age and bring them up to the standard without making them variants.
Well, typically the codes are written as Mr. Nazaro recited that, if it's a complete replacement, some codes say if they're replacing 50% of it, then you can do it one way or the other, but if it's a complete replacement, replacement, then they're required to be to the current code, right?
How is that, was it, HB, was it 428, that House bill, that, in Tallahassee, if you allow a variance, that issue, right?
That did not pass this session.
Pardon?
That did not pass this session. So that would have
That
allowed.
would have been practically any variance.
Right.
Possible.
Would have had a much more,
I mean, this is a discretionary thing that comes before us, but you have to review the requirements of a variance and see if it applies. You have to make a finding of fact on each one of those. So you can vote as you find those facts.
What do you, talking about?
I'm no lawyer. I guess the other thing that I would say if I was on the town commission, and I understand the point here. So, but there are existing, which I have kept, because they were not in a position for a safety reason, addition dolphin poles that were set for the original 30-foot dock. I'm no engineer, and I don't know if that would have me cause to actually move that again, but again, if it wasn't for the early mistake of 13 feet, I could have probably kept the ends of the dock. But because of the mistake earlier, and because I had to replace the seawall in order to move in for the house, I had to sort of take it out.
And what's the difference to you, Mr. Souter, of 28.1 versus 30?
The only real difference to me is just with the existing dolphin poles. I mean, I agree. It's not that big of a deal of 18 inches. It just is. I wanted to restore the entire house. That was a piece of it. Those were all the drawings that were submitted early. And I've already gone through some expense because of the, code that was wrong. And now having to go through it again, I'm now having to figure out how to move those dolphin poles and stuff. It just seems like, again, I'm not a lawyer, but if all I really want to do is just repair something that is not been kept up, and both neighbors have no problem with it. We've gone to everyone around. I don't think there's been any complaints about it. You've seen what we've done to the house, and we're just keeping in character of Gulfstream. It just doesn't seem to me to be a very big ask, but.
Okay, well, we've heard the presentation, we've heard opinions.
I don't know.
Back and forth, we need to vote.
It's tough for a variance because I don't think we want to get into giving variances. But I think you should be allowed to build a 30-foot dock back. So what do you do?
Well, he's entitled to a variance, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, but up to 28.
So the question is, where do you not confer special privilege based on our existing code? And, that's the technicalities that we face. But you vote your conscience and your facts and as you interpret it. Okay, well, we can't continue to study our neighbor. We're going to vote on this, Mr. Souter. And Ms. Orkmine is going to make a
motion. You have a question? Did he raise his hand?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. My daughter wondering if she could have permission to do something.
Bring her over here.
You all want to vote on that? Because I need help. I need backup on that one.
Mr. Nazaro, in addressing this application, do we need to vote on each of the 8 criteria?
if you find that if you're granting the variance, whether it's 28 or 30 or what have you, you don't need to make any specific finding. It's just generally that it would be that they were all met. If you deny the variance, you
Although the request for the variance is at 30 feet.
What the motion is,
But you can,
make it 28.1.
you can vote
Can I-
to adjust the variance
Okay.
if you wish.
With deep regret, I'm going to say I'm going to make the motion to approve a variance with provisions to permit the construction of a 28.1 foot by 5 foot dock at 520 Middle Road.
Is there a second? Second. Ms. Taylor?
Before we move forward, I apologize. I'm not sure what the motion is.
It's to permit 28.1, it's a variance for a 28.1 foot dock, not the original 30. To have the
But not
original, it has to be a special variance given in this situation.
Approving the variance, but not 30-foot request. The 28.1.
You could have 28.1 foot dock as opposed to a 30. 1.9 short of what he wants.
So just be sure I'm clear. We're voting on 28 versus 30. Is that
28.1 versus 30.
okay? That's the motion.
Grant the ordinance, or grant the variance.
I'm granting, yeah, I
Okay.
made the motion to grant the variance of 28.1 feet.
But what is the homeowner requesting?
30.
The original, just to redo the original, which was.
I just want to be. I'm sorry to belabor. I just want to be sure I'm clear. So I understand the motion.
You made a motion?
Oh, I made the motion. I said with regret I have to make it instead of 30.
I believe I seconded it.
Yes,
Ms. Taylor?
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein,
yes.
Commissioner Lyons.
I'm sorry. If I'm in favor of 30, not 28. So how do I vote?
Then you could vote no.
No. Thank you.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Passes. Mr. Souter, it is with regret. I think Mrs. Orthwein expressed it properly. Unfortunately, at least I, and I think the other commissioners feel constrained by the implications of a variance and the ordinances that apply. So, I'm glad you got the variance. I'm sorry, it wasn't quite the distance that you desired.
All right. I appreciate it.
Let's move on. That's, I think that finishes our applications. Is that correct? Yeah. Wow. Okay, let's move on to reports. Undergrounding report, Mr. Dunn.
Okay, I'll be quick, because there's not a lot to bring you up to speed on. The AT&T, the town has filed the lawsuit, and the AT&T response is due by July 20th. I'm meeting next week with Comcast Cable. They installed all of the drops, so the next step is to connect them up to the equipment on the house. These are the ones that need the appointment. And so I'm meeting with them next week to get their schedule to do that. And we'll need to put out some kind of a notice to the residents that they need to call in and make those appointments. So that's utilities. The A1A, we've pretty much talked about that. And then in Place Ossa Way, the street lighting had the replacement with the new street lights has begun.
It has begun.
Yeah.
Okay.
They did the boxes first and they're putting in poles now.
Correct.
Taking a while.
Yeah, some of the old lights are totally surrounded by landscaping. And so that's gonna be a little challenge. I mean, they told me that it's easy to get the old ones out, but to get the new ones in, because the base of them are so much bigger than the old ones. So there's gonna need to be some communication with the residents where those poles exist.
Okay. thank you. ARPB meeting, next one is July 23rd, this month at 8:30 for anyone who wishes to attend. Finance report.
Yes, the report that you have represents 75% of the budget for this year, and unless you have any questions about it, Rebecca and I are here to answer those questions.
Any questions on finance? If not, let's proceed. Please, Chief.
I request that the activity report be accepted as submitted. I'd just like to mention that on this report, there is 2 vehicles that were taken last month, and since then we've also had 2 more taken this month. We've gone door to door, really requesting people to, advising them to be safe and remove their belongings and lock their cars. And actually, we had one resident down that was spoken to on Saturday, and yesterday they had to park.
We have written to the residents. The police are going door to door to residents that appear to be putting themselves in jeopardy by leaving cars running, leaving car doors open, and leaving keys in or items in open cars. I think we've had a total of 10 cars stolen in the town of Gulf Street.
Actually, it's been 8 this year.
8 this
There
year.
was one in December that was closed.
Okay.
And we had one that was recovered from another jurisdiction.
Okay. Whether it's 8, 9, or 10, it's an awful lot of vehicles stolen from this town. And I think we had maybe 1 the previous year and 0 in 2018. Every one of them stolen has had the same component, a key in the car or very close by. So that these people come up, they follow you into town, they jump in the car, and they push the button. It's always a late model car, which has a fob. You leave it in the car, all you have to do is depress the brake and push a button, and off they go. We find them, driving down the road, because you catch them on the cameras, either north or south, but there's nothing you can do after that point, except perhaps locate the car at some point. But people must be cognizant of this fact and stop leaving your keys in the room. Is that a fair recommendation to the town?
Absolutely.
Pretty good. We'll accept the rest of the report as submitted. Okay, the proposed budget, Mr. Dunn.
Okay, I have a lot of notes here. I'm not sure how in depth you want me to get on this, but there are some points that I'd like to leave with you. So as you know, the ad valorem tax levy is a primary source of revenue for the town. And so the last 3 years, this town has levied its tax rate or set it at the they either lowered the rate or set it at the rollback rate the last 3 years, and that's what we're proposing to do once again for this year. My explanation of that, the year 17-18, our ad valorem tax revenues was 4.5 million. 18-19, it was 4.6. 19-20, it was 4.6, and our projection this year is for 4.6. And again, this year we're proposing to use the rollback rate. A couple of those years we set the millage rate at just slightly below the rollback rate. But the point of all this is that for all the project studies, purchases, and costs of providing services that we do have been accomplished with basically the same amount of tax revenues for the last 3 years and proposed for this year.
We will probably be seeing a reduction in the penny tax revenue this year.
Look, yes, we do anticipate that, and Rebecca can speak to that here in a minute. But we do this even though, the cost of some of these services we provide have definitely gone up, and our annual contracts with, like fire rescue and waste management, that, they go up, but at a rate that we've negotiated that we believe is acceptable. continuing to keep our revenues around the same amount. So we're doing a lot of projects and purchases and services to people with the same amount of money projected for 4 years in a row. What that means is we're not increasing the ad valorem tax levy to our revenue. So we wanted to make sure that that was put on the record. Our budget is, as you know, is CIP driven for the next several years, and so I would like to give a thanks and a shout out to Commissioner Lyons for his assistance to the staff in developing our sound management, cash management program that we have that's enabled us to keep that millage rate in check. So there are some things that I do need to read to you, and so I'll do that right now, and I'll just highlight some of the general fund numbers for you. This document is the proposed fiscal plan for the operation of the town of Gulfstream during the next fiscal period. The budget is presented to the town commission in a format that substantially conforms to the standards of public financial presentations known as generally accepted accounting principles promulgated by the National Council of Government Accounting. The annual operating budget is a basic fiscal document, and once adopted will become a fiscal work program for our community and provide the basis for carrying out the town commission's decisions on policies and programs for the improvement, growth, and quarterly maintenance of the town of Gulfstream. And you can kind of follow along with the manager's message here with me. I do have notes for the 2021 general fund and water fund, beginning with a list of our fund balances that you can see that we have here beginning in 2011, where we were at $1.4 million. By 2013, for reasons that you know about, the fund balance was almost cut in half to $752,000. And at the end of 2019, our fund balance is now $5,669,000. So some of the things that I'm required to publicly announce and read to you, the proposed 2021 millage rate is 3.7591 mils, which is the 2021 rollback rate. The prior year, 2020 millage rate was 3.8606 mils. The prior year 2020 budgeted ad valorem proceeds for operations, as you can see, was $4,618,000, and at the proposed millage rate for 2021, the budgeted ad valorem proceeds for operations will be $4,621,000. So you can see that, again, emphasizing that those ad valorem proceeds have remained the same, for the last 3 years and proposed for 1 more year. The prior year final gross taxable value for Gulfstream was $1,195,147,000, and the estimated gross taxable value for Gulfstream this year is $1,227,409,000. Highlights from the general fund for this year is the addition of a full-time police officer position at a cost, including salary and benefits, of $88,812. The CIP plan is a planning year for the North Core District, and the expenses for that we're estimating at $200,778. We're also including the installation of smart meters townwide at an expense of $200,000. We're getting a lot of pushback from residents saying, why haven't we done that yet? And so we have it in this year's budget, and it's not a matter of going in and having to tear up the whole front yard. It's a matter of just replacing the meters in 95% of the cases. They may have to be moved slightly, but So we have that in the budget. We have 2 new police cruisers, as we do every year. The total proposed capital expenditures for the general fund are $551,953, and the water fund at $400,778. This year's budget will be highlighted by upgrades to the water distribution system, a town-wide conversion to smart meters. Will greatly benefit residents by giving them more access, information, and control over their water consumption. The CIP roadway and water distribution project will have a planning and design year for fiscal year 2021. Engineering, design, and permitting will be for the North Core project, and we'll use the core drainage project from fiscal 2020 as a springboard to continue the improvements to the roadways and water distribution lines and drainage. In terms of personnel, Gulfstream has talented workforce that continually exhibits the skills and commitments necessary to deliver the highest quality of services to its residents. Investing in quality personnel and retaining them is of utmost importance to the town, and we've been able to do that, although, we do have, the potential for retirement in the police department, and we've had people either for health reasons, this past year, how many did we, are we down?
Well, now.
And we did recently hire, somebody to fill that position, but it took, how many applicants? But, also, the issue of filling, applications or positions in the police department is becoming more difficult. There's about 160 vacancies, countywide of police officer positions. 10 years ago, if you had a position available, maybe 15 years ago, we would have a line of people that would circle the building to get one position. Now you can hardly get people to meet the vetting and the qualifications that we require. It's very difficult to find the people that we want to have in Gulfstream. The total budget for 2019 was $6,784,000. Last year, or this current year, the total budget is $9,707,000. That's because of basically our CIP work that we're doing. And then the proposed total budget for next year is $7,597,000. And the increase over the year 2019 is basically the CIP work that we're doing. That's a quick review of it. If you have any questions, the real reason that we're required to meet in July for this meeting is to set the tentative millage rate. So that's what really comes out of this meeting, although we've pretty much developed the budget, and so, we will have opportunities, up until September to discuss it if you have questions about it, or if you have questions today, Rebecca and I are here to.
Well, here's the bulk of it's been done, and I think, compliments and congratulations due to staff and Commissioner Lyons, Police Chief Allen, for getting together and getting this so well constructed and finalized at this July meeting. I would like to comment, in addition, on the police officer, further to my finger wagging about leaving keys in the car. The town has been asked numerous times to consider putting cameras in the town, streets, and certain select areas. We've looked into that. Lieutenant Hasley has studied it, spoke to other towns, looked into costs, and concluded that it would not be of real benefit to the town. Those funds could be spent better on other equipment for the police, and more importantly, on an additional police officer. Right now, we typically have 2 vehicles on the road. An additional police officer would put 3 cars on the road. That's a 50% increase in coverage in our town. We don't want to just capture on video the fleeing vehicle that's stolen as it goes down A1A with little chance of catching it and practically no chance of prosecuting those who did it. We want to prevent the crimes. And so I'm fully in support of adding this additional police officer and increasing our presence on the street. So I think that's where that comes from. Any other comments that the other commissioners want to make? Paul?
The only question I have on this, it's not the expenditure, but the smart meters, I just want to be sure that I'm clear on what a smart meter is. So let me ask this question. If I'm in Long Island, as I am right now, and I wanted to check what's going on with the water usage today, can I do it wirelessly? Was that what the smart meter allowed me to do? To have some individual control over what's going on in my water?
So there are different types of smart meters, and they vary from a spectrum of very complex with a lot of user features, and then there's some pretty basic ones. Smart meters in itself, just really the purpose of it is to eliminate the need for us going meter to meter walking to check the analog meter data. So you can do it by radio signal. But there are certainly smart meters that do have that ability for you to remotely check your usage per day. And those are just, we would work out the specs of which meters we wanted. If that's what the residents want, we can certainly make that be what we do, where you would go online. It's a digital account. You could log into anywhere, and depending on the type of meters that we have, you could check your meter usage in real time, or and then there's some that only do like once a week or every couple of days. So it would just be more as to what the residents really want and what fits within our budget. So
that's my question is, if I understand the benefit to the town by eliminating the physical reading of the meter, but for the resident, I think we could give them some access to their water usage rather than waiting for that 2 months. And then I know my brother in one is called numerous times, but I'm sure there are others saying, well, this number can't be right. I couldn't have used all that water. And if somebody is, rather than putting on the onus on the town to constantly answer those questions, put the responsibility back on the resident and let them, if they have some concerns, they can check periodically. But so at least something that would allow you once a day to see what's going on. It doesn't have to be real time, what happened last hour. But is that 200,000 going to cover some kind of ability on the part of the resident to periodically access what's going on with their water usage?
It should. It is a kind of halfway point where that was the mid range of smart meters. Smart meters, like I said, they come in all kinds of makes and models, and there's everything from your basic model to the luxury models. And that 200,000 is kind of smack in the middle of that range, which should allow us the ability to give residents the ability to check the meter. It may not be every day that the data refreshes, but at least pretty regularly, that they should be able to see, like maybe every 2 or 3 days, that they can see the data, and then they can also work with us. Now, that's not to say that if there's a request from a resident with smart meters, we can tag the meter and have them send that information like that and have it uploaded. So The automatic update is what we're talking about in part of my conversation, but what I just said is if there's ever a concern for a resident, we can just send the signal to the meter and request an updated in real time. So that's the way all smart meters work.
Okay, I have, going on beyond the smart meters, Rebecca, you and I work together. And by the way, Rebecca does all the heavy lifting, not me. So let's be clear on that. Rebecca, we put in front of the commission our 10-year projection based on the most current information on the CIP.
Mm-hmm.
So this budget that is being proposed, that's consistent with the projection that we presented, I think, in the last meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I thought so. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Rebecca, just correct me if I'm wrong, but with the smart meters, depending on the kind you get, can't we provide a visual graph to residents if they say, oh, I couldn't have used that much water on July 7th, and we in fact can get a graphic detail that shows the water usage for a day, even hour by hour.
For every smart meter that I've ever seen, that is one of the benefits for all smart meters, that it will be able to kind of parse out the daily usage. And we don't have to, depending on the meter that we get, we as the staff do not have to initiate that. All smart meters that we are looking at would have the ability for the resident to create an account and monitor it on their own. The only thing is that we may set the automatic update, like I said, a couple of times a week. And if they wanted a real time, we may have to send the signal to the meter just to bounce back and get a good read for that day. So, but what we're looking at is much more comprehensive and user-friendly than what we currently have for everybody involved. And it'll be much more accurate. So.
Anything else on the budget? Let's move to the four motions. That's Vice Mayor Stanley to address item 10A3, 4, 5X.
So we're gonna make a motion for approve the proposed millage rate for fiscal year 20-21, which is
3.7591.
3.7591 is the rollback rate.
So second?
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwine. Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes.
I'm gonna make a motion for certification of the rollback millage rate, which is number 3.7591.
Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwine.
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the date of the first public hearing, tentative budget adoption, which shall be, September 11th at 5:01 p.m.
Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwine.
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes.
And we are, date of the second, motion to approve the date of the second public hearing, which is the final budget adoption, which will be September 22nd at 5:01.
Second.
We done?
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwine.
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you, John. Let's move on now to the ordinances, 20/3. This is the adoption ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor, for your consideration of ordinance 20-3, which I referenced earlier, which corrects the error in the code to section 66-369 as it relates to lot 20 on the plat, which is correlates to 520 Middle Road. Corrects that error and gives it the same dock and boat length as are submitted to the identical lots 6 and 8 on the North Cove. So again, this is correct the error that our planner found when we asked him to give us some information in support of the variance request for the ARP.
Very good. Ms. Taylor, could you have that on first reading?
Sure. An ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending the Town Code of Ordinances at Chapter 66 zoning, Article 8 supplementary district regulations, Division 2 accessory structures and recreational facilities, Section 66-369 docks, providing for severability, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict, providing for codification, and providing an effective date. It's presented on first reading this 10th day of July, 2020. Will be presented for the second reading and adoption next month.
Thank you very much. Ordinance number 20/3 has been provided on first reading. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve 20-3. Second.
Mrs. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. Ordinance 20/4, Mr. Mazzaro?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, presenting for your approval of ordinance 20-4. It is the recodification of the code. We have the new code recently reprinted and incorporate all the ordinances that were adopted over the last few years. This is not part of your code book. This just adopts them. They are not I think that everyone has a code book. And everything's updated on the meeting code website. This is just a requirement as part of that updating that to go to this ordinance and republish that.
Very good. It's presented on first reading. Ms. Taylor?
An ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream, Palm Beach County, Florida, adopting and enacting an updated and reproduced code for the Town of Gulfstream, providing for the repeal of ordinances not included therein, providing a penalty for the violation thereof, providing for the manner of amending such code, and providing when such code and this ordinance shall become effective. It's being presented on first reading this 10th day of July, 2020.
Ordinance 20/4 has been presented for first reading. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve 20-4. Second.
Ms. Taylor?
Vice Mayor Stanley?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein?
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Mayor Morgan?
Yes. We've had so many motions today, I just want to make sure we've covered it, and that is the Baxter-Woodman change order. We did vote on that previously, correct?
Yes.
Very good. Finally, let's go to the purchasing of body cameras for the police department.
Yes, so, Mr. Mayor, I can't remember what I did last week, but, I'm asking you guys to remember last year in this budget discussion, we talked about the fact that we were gonna need to budget for this current year, $25,000 to replace the aging in-car, video cameras that we had. We approved that, but during that discussion, we also talked about the idea that we would look into, possibly moving from in-car to, cameras to body cameras. And so to that end, the town did, decide we'd like to propose that to you. And, so we did get, bids for these, and the staff report can show them, or identifies those for you. I won't go through them. And so we're recommending, the purchase of the low bid, and that's Wolfcom. Of course, the chief is here, to answer any questions that you might have. Also, our attorney is here to discuss any kind of legal issues that you believe may be, may come that we may have to address because of, the
Privacy concerns or public records, things of that nature.
We would not be replacing the in-car cameras, correct, Chief?
We will, we will fade them out basically, because we have actually one that's not working, and then one that's on its last legs. And the pricing to repair them is just astronomical.
Right, this is less expensive than
Right.
redoing
And
it.
by going to a body worn camera, you still have the camera when you're in the car, and you still can turn it on and use it while you're in the car, doing a traffic stop or whatever. But the disadvantage of the car camera, if you do like a traffic stop and you step 2 feet out of the range, you're out of the picture. You have no more picture at all. You only have a picture of what's directly in front of you, and that's it. Where with the body camera, someone if you are investigating a crime, you can use it to video a crime scene if you had it. But it's more universal and it stays with the person rather than the car. That if the car goes in for service, you have no camera. And you're out of business for a day or two. So it's more universal.
I think it provides better protection for the police
Yeah,
and for the residents
especially with the recent.
when you're away from your
things that have gone on. It's becoming more and more of a necessity to protect the officers.
Do they run all the time when you're at work, or do you turn them on?
You turn them on and off. They're designed where they have trigger mechanisms where you can set that up to where they will come on automatically depending on certain situations. And they all have a pretty good sized button on the front designed so when the officer needs it, he just slaps his chest and runs.
So where do you wear them? I mean,
Most of them are on a magnet.
where?
It's like a little steel plate inside your shirt and you just clip it to it.
Okay.
Some for them to the side and to the center.
How long do we have to keep all that video?
So the minimum is 90 days, and then from there, it relates to the type of crime it is. So obviously, like a homicide would be a very long time, but a traffic stop would be much less. So the initial minimum is 90 days.
Is it uploaded from the cameras to a cloud-based server, and how is that preserved?
The company we're looking at actually would be giving us a separate server for us to download it onto, and then they back it up on their own end as well, as a secondary backup. And just for backtrack a second on the retention, our in-car cameras are the same way. We currently have to retain them for the 90 days.
I don't believe there's any, Trey can correct if I'm wrong, real state regulations governing the use of them. Rather that's directed towards the local government that are using them. So we have to develop.
That's right, the state statute just says you have to develop a policy, and then it's very vague as far as what that policy contains, but that, you officers need to be trained on the policy. And I've spoken with Lieutenant Hasley about not recreating the wheel, but finding some policies that we like and tailor them to the specific needs of Gulfstream.
Good. Any other questions? Sounds like a great idea. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve, which one, with the Wolfcom, right?
Yes.
For $22,058. Second.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. My compliments to everyone for moving this meeting forward. The goal was to beat the noon clock, so we're doing it by 2 minutes. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.